So tell me a little bit about where we're going.
Well, I've always wanted to find the Plaza de los Genizaros, and really, as far as I know, and I've talked to several people, nobody really knows where it's at. Well, here's a map. See, here's Belen. They're really talking about the plaza, where the old church is at. So a mile southeast is Plaza de los Genizaros. There's Jarales, and that's where your family's from. So I think if we kind of head that way, and there should be a Jarales Road right up here.
Right, there is.
Oh, the structure, since the area was bulldozed during construction of the railroad yards that are adjacent to and coincident with the old site of the Genizaro barrio. So we have to find really where the railroad yards are. The old one. I know there's a new one right over here. But according to another map that I see, it seems like it is kind of halfway between here and Jarales.
Okay.
So maybe we can kind of go that way.
Okay, that'd be great.
And really what they're talking about here is that that he's saying that the Genizaros constructed like a torreon, like a defensive building.
Okay.
And he said that actually stayed up until like around 1900s, early 1900s, and then it was finally thrown down when they built the railroad yards. So let's go there. And I help people to use resources to help them understand history. And when I say resources, I mean primary resources, such as documents, photos again, historical films. So this old town, what's written here is the Old Town Church ruins.
Well, overall,
Are there still ruins there? Then there would also be a cemetery here, because usually they'd bury people inside the church or just outside the church. So I would say this would be where the Genizaros were buried. But in New Mexico, just my research showed me that it really is just the children of Genizaros. During Spanish colonial times, race was important, and caste. Between me and like 7 generations back, there was really no identity given to anybody, really no race or class designated to them. We're just Americans now, and before that we were Mexicans. And before that, really even during the Spanish system, people didn't really call themselves Spanish, only the elite. And I started noticing in 1700s my ancestors would have the caste next to their name. In the records it says so-and-so Trujillo, mestizo, which means half Indian, half Spanish. And then in my case, some of my ancestors, they're listed as coyotes.
My ancestry comes back from the time that we were, the community was a Mexican, part of the Mexican government, part of the Mexican nation. And prior to that, we were part of the Spanish nation. And the Genizaro basically era unas gentes conocidas either que fueran gentes mezcladas with Spanish and Native American, or fueran gentes indigenous people. That used to happen here a lot was the trade fairs. The trade fairs, South had, I understand it used to have 2 trade fairs a year. And that invited all the Native Americans, different tribes, etc., to Taos. Older people crying when the Comanches would come because it brought them memories of their loved ones. We sing the cautivo, and that was the captives dance. That was when the Comanche would come into its camp, bringing in their captives. And it brought memories of the stories that were passed on from one generation to the next on how they got to this community. And because this community comprised of people who were Navajoses, and they were Apaches, Utes, and Kaiwas, and they came from those different tribes. They came from pueblos in the south. The Comanche dancing was passed on to me by my dad, my grandfathers, my great-grandfather, and I passed it on to my children, and they have passed it on to their children.
I've grown up with this my entire life. I've been dancing since I was a baby. I mean, my dad, he made a headdress for me when I was an infant, and he had me out here dancing.
You know, for us to say, I identify with this particular tribe or the other tribe, we don't, in that sense of being identified with the Apache or the, because we're of mixed tribes. but we do identify with our song and our dance with the Comanches, because the Comanches are the ones that interacted with this community, traded immensely with the community. To be very frank with you, I think that Genizaro are basically more and more being lost. They're only in those families' genealogy where they say, oh, la grandma era Apache, or grandpa era Navajo, or on and on.
We were an Indian community until 1928, when the government relinquished our status. All the proof is there. Just what we just mentioned now, the fact that all our forefathers went to Indian schools, to the Indian school. The fact that on our very patent that the United States government gave to the people from Abiquiu, President Taft struggled in the grantee, on the grantee line, and he wrote to the half-breed Indians of Abiquiu. And some of it will have to remain in mystery, and hopefully at least the bits and pieces that we do know a little bit about, we can continue to share. Tradition in Abiquiu is definitely one of the cornerstones. Our faith, our Catholic faith, is one of the other cornerstones. Family is the third cornerstone, and then our land is one of our cornerstones, because we have a place we belong to. I refer to Abiquiu as being a miracle, because believe me, we were through all our history, somebody's been trying to take Abiquiu away.
To know who I am is to know where I come from, to know to know that this is who I am and this is what I do.
And they do tell a history, Si tú andas en combate y tu tropa no ganó, pide a Dios que te rescate si el enemigo está abajo. Sacan abajo, hey yo, ya yo, ya hey yo, ya yo, hey yo, hey yo. Antes noche fui a tu casa y me dites de cenar tortillitas chamuscadas y frijoles sin guisar. So they were fun songs also.